That's it. Good afternoon. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of September 24th, 2025. My name is Tim Rainey. I'm chairman of the board. Mr. Jeffrey Penzis serves as secretary of the board. Mr. Penzis, may I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bruce.
Present.
Mr. Campbell.
Present.
Mr. Love.
Here.
Ms. Skurlock.
Here.
Vice Chair Savage Selden.
Present.
And Chair Rainey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is the oldest appointed governmental body in Memphis and Shelby County. We were established in 1925. The board hears appeals from the administration of the zoning ordinance, requests for variances from the zoning ordinance, and other requests articulated by local zoning laws adopted pursuant to the enabling legislation. The 8 members of the board are appointed, 4 by the mayor of Memphis and 4 by the mayor of Shelby County, with the confirmation by the Memphis City Council or the Shelby County Board of Commissioners. We serve without remuneration. At this point, I'd like to swear in the staff. May remain seated. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
So moved.
Second. All right, moved and second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a secretary's report, if there is one this month, and then explain the procedure for today's meeting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As for the Secretary's report, there are no announcements this afternoon. The procedures for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda can be found on the front podium. For each case, the planner with the Division of Planning Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, those speakers in support will have a total of 5 minutes, and those speakers in opposition will have a total of 10 minutes. And then finally, the applicant will have 2 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the board. The chairman may provide additional time, provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the board will be sworn in by the chairman. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's card can be submitted to any DPD staff member at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants since their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the board will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. If the applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing, or if a board member wishes to hear additional testimony from any party, a 2/3 vote is required to reopen the public hearing pursuant to the board's rules of procedure. Please note that once the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and opposition will be allowed to provide additional testimony and or rebuttal. All motions by this board will be made in the affirmative. The private acts governing the board require the affirmative vote of at least 5 members to approve an application, regardless of the number of board members present. The board may also vote to hold an application for a period not to exceed 3 months with the consent of the applicant, or 1 month without the consent of the applicant. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Memphis and Shelby County Unified Development Code, or the UDC, which was adopted by the Memphis City Council and Shelby County Board of Commissioners in August of 2010 and became effective on January 1st, 2011. I will introduce the entire UDC and make it part of today's record, thus dispensing with the reading of individual sections. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases before us today under the provisions of Chapter 9.22 of the UDC. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled as required by the UDC.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, the board will establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience, staff, or board member objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands when the secretary reads that case. Once the consent agenda is established, the board will vote on all cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on those cases. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda are eligible to be placed on consent today?
First, I would just like to note that item number 1 has been dropped.
Okay.
Item number 2, BOA 2025-65 at 3614 Jackson Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 3, BOA 2025-83 at 7201 Bridgewater Church Road as approval with conditions. Item number 6, BOA 2025-80 at 3757 Woodland Drive as approval with conditions. Item number 7, BOA 2025-81 at 2601 Jackson Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 8, BOA 2025-89 at 5133 Park Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 10, BOA 2025-95 at 535 Alabama Avenue as a hold for 1 month. Item number 11, BOA 2025-96 at 85 North Danny Thomas Boulevard as approval with conditions. And item number 12, BOA 2025-97 at 1471 East Brooks Road as approval with conditions.
All right. Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the Secretary, which is items 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8 as approval with conditions, 10 as a hold, and 11 and 12 approval as conditioned.
So moved.
All right. I want to remind the board that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Ms. Scurlock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Selden.
Yes, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
And Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. So if you're here for those cases, 2, 3, 6, 7, and 8, 10, 11, and 12, you've either been approved as requested or held as requested. So y'all are free to go. Mr. Secretary, will you call our first case we're going to hear today?
Item number 4, BOA 2025-86 at 644 and 646 Dickinson Street.
All right. Good to see you again. If we can get a brief staff report to kind of remind us what was going on last month and then bring us up to speed. And if I see the applicants here, if the opposition wants to come forward and be ready when it's that time, that'd be great too. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Truth with DPD. This case was held last month. The applicant is requesting for to allow a driveway that does not extend at least 20 feet beyond the front facade and to allow a front yard parking pad. The board held this case last month and asked the applicant to go talk with VECA to see if they would allow an encroachment into VECA's property. And according to the applicants, they did speak with VECA and they did not agree with them. They didn't agree to allow the encroachment, and the applicant has also revised his site plan to ensure that he removes any of his driveway or fence in VECA's property, as well as add screening and trees to ensure that the front yard parking pad isn't very visible from the street. So basically, that is that. Thank you.
If the applicant will come forward.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you again. If you'll give your name and address, and you're an attorney, correct?
I am.
Okay, so I'm not going to swear you in since you're representing somebody, but go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. Appreciate the board hearing us. Last month, as you may recall, we had a presentation that we brought forth, and there were various objections and questions about parking in the backyard, not parking at all, and then there was the issue of the green line. I think the board wanted to know exactly what the Green Line's position was, and so I addressed that with Adam Krug of the Green Line after we had our August meeting. The Green Line folks are not concerned one iota with who parks where, how many cars park where, anything like that. The only thing they're interested in is they wanted the fence off of their easement, and they wanted the concrete that was poured prior to this stop work order to be cut back and not be on their easement. We've agreed to that. We've agreed to the shrubbery that is recommended and the planting of a tree. And we have submitted a site plan that fits that definition and that recommendation. I am very grateful that the staff report comes to me and it says they are advocating approval with conditions. And I know that the conditions are the certificate of appropriateness, et cetera. So we are in full compliance with what the board wants. We are willing to do the further actions that will be required subject to approval. And we would have gone with backyard parking if the Green Line folks had agreed to it. Because if we did have backyard parking, that fence would have been very important to them. They would have wanted that fence there, but they don't want that fence and they don't care how we park. So we're going to do what the board wants, and we're going to do what is reasonable under the circumstances. So that's my report on it, and we are here to hopefully get approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
Mr.
Questions?
Chairman, I believe he just forgot to say his name and address.
Oh, if you'll give your name and address for the record.
My name is Douglas A. Nicholson, and my address is P.O. Box 11866, Memphis, Tennessee, 38111.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you.
Yeah, are there any questions for the applicant before we move to the opposition? And then, okay, and you have 6 minutes remaining to add to your 2 minutes of rebuttal. So, okay. All right, so we're going to move to the opposition. Does someone want to come forward first between Ms. Edwards and Mr. Bacchus? Mr. Bacchus, come on down. You'll give your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Bacchus, 5320 White Diamond Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38109.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead and share with us, Mr. Bacchus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As stated earlier, before this board last month, to present to you our opposition to this request. I am representing Valentine Evergreen Community Association, and it's in conjunction with Ms. Edwards, who's a part of that community association. We still hold to our thoughts that the long-range plans for this area shall be considered. This is in the zoning code, and that plan recommends concentrations of duplexes in an area that are legal non-conforming should not be, the life of those duplexes should not be extended. And the future for VECA is to examine methods to develop a long-term program to convert those duplexes into single-family homes. That's over time, and that plan was adopted in 1997. Here we are, almost 30 years later, and we're still granting variances for duplexes that are legal non-conforming. Next slide, please. So these are the Dickinson Street photos that were taken last month. These are existing conditions of the site. As you can see, on the lower left is the green line, the walkway across the green line, as well as the parking pad upper right to the of the site, and where they plan to place the parking pad. In addition to that, the fence that's encroaching into the VECA green line easement. Next slide, please. So the UDC provisions regarding parking and loading is primarily the location of parking spaces. This is iterated in your staff report, but VECA's position on the various requests that they oppose the parking pad, and the addition of the parking spaces conflicts with the UDC. It violates the VECA's historic district guidelines for duplexes, and so the duplexes are currently small 2-bedroom, 1-bath residences, which support smaller family which supports a smaller family and does not necessitate necessitate additional parking capacity. Next slide, please. And so, if the variance is allowed for the driveway site improvements, the site plan shall be modified. Move the fence to the correct property line off of V&E's green line, remove the portion of the concrete that encroaches into the green line. This is an alternative site plan that I drew up on September 17th, 2 days after Mr. Doug Baker, who is a planner as well, landscape architect, drew up his plan and submitted it to you. And it's highly uncommon for individuals within our field to think, or minds to think alike. But in this case, we were both on the same page. A little bit different, but we were both in agreement with some type of solution to this issue. So what we've done is illustrated the 5 parking spaces that he could get within the driveway. The only variance that I see here, in my opinion, would be the width of the driveway, but not to install a full width parking pad as shown in their site plan, but to taper the drive up to the existing concrete drive and taper it and put in shrubs and a tree as well as indicated on the applicant's site plan. So the biggest difference here is taper the drive and not add a full width parking space. Next slide, please. In conclusion, we hold to the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 1997. VECA opposes the request for variance because the addition of the parking spaces conflicts with the UDC and in the violation of VECA Historic District guidelines. VECA's position is also that the variance is not warranted due to the parking requirements for a 2-family structure with 2 bedrooms per unit, which requires 1 space per unit with 2 or less bedrooms and does not necessitate the additional parking capacity. So in our opinion, the variance for the front yard parking pad is not warranted. However, they will have to request a variance for the width of the driveway. Driveways cannot exceed 16 feet in width. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll conclude my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bacchus. Are there any questions for Mr. Bacchus?
Can we go back to Mr. Bacchus? So your proposal is extending, so where we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you're extending the drive instead of giving the extra footage for the parking pad. Is that correct? Am I saying that correctly? Slightly.
I would say extending it would be, you're extending it from the existing south line of the driveway. That's correct.
Okay.
But instead of placing an entire width of a drive or a parking space, we're tapering the drive from the curb cut up to where the existing concrete and asphalt meets.
Okay.
That's only our suggestion.
Right.
We're not redesigning anything. We're just suggesting.
Yes, sir.
I want to make that very clear.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Bacchus?
I had a quick comment. Just in theory, I mean, it's 2 ways we're doing it, right? The way that they're suggesting it and the way you're showing it. But in the overall scheme, it seems like they're both solving the same issue.
I agree.
You're creating the buffering with the trees to basically block it off. So it's really a matter of, I guess, as you said, just providing a secondary option for review, right?
Yes, sir. I agree with that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bacchus.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards would like to speak.
Yes, Ms. Edwards. Come on up and give your name and address for the records for us.
Yes, good afternoon. It's Karen Edwards. I live at 1887 South Rainbow Drive, Memphis 38107.
Okay. And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go
Thank
ahead,
you,
Ms.
sir.
Edwards.
Just a couple of clarifications here. I did reach out to Adam Krug. I am the president of the Valentine Evergreen Community Association, and so Adam had reached out to me knowing that we were coming here today. And I just was looking at the analysis here that's on page 15 about the parking, and the lawyer for Ms. Tonga mentioned that he didn't care where they parked and everything, and that's just not true. He said that's either they're confused or it's a lie because he didn't support that, and that and their board, their committee and their board actually voted and they denied that request. So I'm not certain where that's coming from and why that would be admissible in here. He said that the V&E Green Line did write a letter in, and so that would be what would be considered admissible in this body. The other thing too, just as a comment, that a couple of other things, and I hope I've got time here, is that the last paragraph on under the analysis says something to the line about that this wouldn't present a detriment to the public good, adding another parking pad. And granted, I know we want density with Memphis 3.0, but this apartment building is 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. And when you consider like how many people can physically live in this duplex, seriously. And I know Mr. Bacchus has provided an alternative for parking where it kind of veers off to the right. You don't have to do any curb cuts. You just go to the right and do that. But the Green Line specifically said that they want the concrete removed from their property and the fence line moved off of the V&E Green Line property back over to the applicant's property. That's what he told me, and I got a letter for that in my conversation with he and my vice president yesterday. So they don't want any Ms. Tonga's property, that fence cannot be on the V&E Green Line's property, nor can the concrete that's there now. I know there was a stop work order issued, but that needs to be removed. And I think the option, if you all were to approve the variance to allow additional parking, even though it violates what is in the UDC code for that home's capacity, that there's no reason for them to have. They're going to have to remove that property. That's what he specifically told us, is that we want them to move that fence and we want them to move that concrete. But there's plenty of street parking. It's not like it's in the suburbs where you don't park on the street. There's plenty of space on Dickinson and on Tutwiler. And if you were to zoom around and do a Google Pan view, you would see plenty of parking there. But there's been as many as 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 cars parked there since March of this year, since Ms. Tonga's owned that property. So that's all I have. Any questions for me?
Okay, any questions for Ms. Edwards? No, ma'am. Thank you so much. All right, so is there anybody else here to speak in opposition? All right, Mr. Nicholas, we'll move back to you for rebuttal. You have 8 minutes if you need it.
Well, certainly, we're going to move the fence, and we are going to remove the concrete that is on the easement. The other issues are, it seems to me, not overwhelmingly divisive of this situation. All we want to do is appropriately handle this in a manner that satisfies the community and satisfies my client. We've agreed to add shrubbery and tree and keep everything in order. My client has addressed the tenants about parking and the limiting of vehicles there. So we're doing everything that we can. We do not feel like this variance is out of reason, and certainly it is something that the community could work with. Hopefully, we are going to coexist together peacefully. This property is a duplex. It was a duplex before my client bought it. It exists as a duplex now. So that in and of itself creates at least one more parking space needed. But we are going to let the board make the call on this, obviously. We've put forth as every kind of plan that is possible, and we want to comply with every ordinance and law that involves this property. And we're seeking one minor variance so that we can finish this driveway up and move on down the road, so to speak. I think that's all that I have.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Nicholas? Question? Yeah.
I've got a question. You know, you said that you've done all you can to limit, if I heard you right, limit the number of parking, of cars that can park. Can you just elaborate on that?
Well, she's talked to all the tenants, that is the tenant in 644 and 646, and advised them about the parking issues. She has warned them to keep vehicles out of the front yard, warned them to, and I have advised her that it's highly likely that she might need to address these issues in future leases so as to prevent this kind of problem. She wants to be a good citizen and maintain this property efficiently.
Other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If we could get a motion to approve BOA 2025-86 as conditioned by staff.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I mean, there's no major discussion. Like I said earlier, I think it sounds like they were still arguing the fence and the slab, which he's addressing with the revision. And then, again, the difference in the landscape scheme that was presented and that's also shown, that's really a matter of preference. I don't think it changes the trajectory of what's trying to be accomplished. So I do think it creates a hardship because of the green line. So I'm satisfied with the revisions that's been made, particularly given the fence has been shifted and the concrete's been removed.
I agree. Other comments? All right, Mr. Secretary, if you could give us a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Ms. Skurlock, Vice Chair Savage Selden,
Yes, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
and Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, motion carries, so it's been approved. Thank y'all for coming down today. If you could call the next case for us, Mr. Secretary.
Item number 5, BOA 2025-78 at 1081 McClure Road.
All right, is the applicant here today? Okay, the applicant will come forward. And is there any opposition on this case? None, okay. All right, if we could get a staff report from staff real quick, that would be great.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Travian Smith, and today I'll be presenting on case BOA 2025-008. So the applicant represented for this case is Todd Harris, and the location for this case is located at 1081 McClure Road. And the request is for a variance to allow a child care center with 13 or more kids on a minor street that is located more than 200 feet from an intersecting arterial. So as you can see here, the location map displays where the location is, where it is located, which is out in Whitehaven neighborhood. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the vicinity map, and it shows the notices that were sent out on August 29, 2025. Here's the zoning map that gives you more context of the layout of the characteristics of the neighborhood based off of the zoning district. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the land use map, which showcases how the majority of the neighborhood is single-family homes. Here's an aerial view that basically gives you an outline of what the context of the subject property looks like. And on the right-hand side is a zoomed-in version that gives you more context. Here are some site photos that were taken that basically gives you more context on what the site looks like. Here's the site plan that was provided by the applicant that basically outlines was the building, the context, and everything. The variance need to be approved here is from item 2.6.2B3C, which essentially focuses on the location of the business being on a minor street that is within 200 feet of an intersecting arterial. The intersecting arterial in question is Elvis Presley Boulevard, and it is located 743 feet from an intersecting arterial. For more context, the reason why the applicant is applying for this variance is, again, from that being more than 200 feet, but is also due to an original application, which is SUP, a special use permit, in order to operate the child care center. In conclusion, essentially what's happening is the property is anticipated to be converted into a child care center, and it would increase traffic based off of staff report. It would increase traffic on a minor residential street, with increased trips from like pickup and drop off time for kids and everything. It can cause a congestion and safety. And then also the property is located right across the street from Whitehaven High School, which is already experiencing a considerable amount of vehicle traffic. Staff recommends rejection due to the applicant's interest in having a child care center of 30 kids on a minor street, again, that's located more than 200 feet away from Elvis Presley Boulevard. It would affect the neighborhood's character and intensity of the neighborhood, as it's surrounded by single-family homes within the residential R10 zoning district. And again, staff recommends rejection. However, if approved, a final site plan shall be submitted. Any changes or deviations may be approved by the zoning administrator. And then lastly, no special use permit may be approved by City Council by March 24th, 2026. And then the variance shall be null and void. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Smith? All right, if the applicant will come forward.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon. If you'll give your name and address for the record.
My name is Tadario Todd Harris. My address is 1840 Pyramid Place, Suite 300, Memphis, Tennessee, 38132.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Harris.
Forgive me for not having a visual depiction of my presentation, but I'll just speak, and hopefully you can follow along. This, of course, is a variance application for 1081 McClure. My presentation will follow the following flow: staff recommendation summary, the applicant's rebuttal, a closing statement, and then Q&A. The staff recommends rejection of this application because of traffic congestion. There were three main points: traffic congestion and safety on a minor street, which is within proximity of Whitehaven High School, the neighborhood character disruption within R10 zoning district, and an assertion that the project would substantially impair the intent of the UDC and the findings of fact were not met as a part of the application. My rebuttal, the flow of the rebuttal will be a community context, community support, traffic and safety design, comparable approvals, and then variance criteria met. The community context. McClure Street, McClure Road, is in fact a residential road heavily dominated on the south side by that of residences. But on the north side of the street, approximately 1,500 feet of it is Whitehaven High School, its parking lot, as well as its stadium, okay? My property, that driveway from my property goes directly into Whitehaven High School's parking lot on that south side of their lot. So, with that being said, we have to put into context that my property, although it is a residential property inside 743 feet inside from the arterial road, it is not a major congestive project, not comparable to that of Whitehaven High School. In fact, during the same drop-off times, we will hold the same hours. It will be difficult to determine what property is, if there is a congestion, which property is causing the congestion. Is it Whitehaven High School, or is it my small project across the street from Whitehaven High School? Okay? Of the 31 homes on McClure Road, approximately 6 of them are vacant and 2 are commercial. The 2 that are commercial properties would be that are owned by the same entity, a church that's on the corner. If you were on the corner coming from Elvis Presley into McClure, there's a vacant lot that is approximately 300 feet deep, and then next to it is the owner of that lot, a church. So in context, if I was right beside the vacant lot on the corner, this project still would be rejected because it is more than 200 feet from the arterial road. So in coming into the street, you're only passing the church, a vacant property, and 1 residence before you get to the property, the subject property. As a part of this, the community support, I had several major touch points, but those that I'll note would be that of community contact with the community, the neighbors, the residents of the street and the adjacent street, city council, the city council representative, as well as conversations with that of the staff over at Whitehaven High School. If you look at the attachments that I just passed out, you will see a petition that was gone. I literally went around the neighborhood and got signatures from the residents of the street and the residents on Palmer Road, the street immediately south of the property. If you were to note 2 important signatures on the two important signatures on the first 2 pages of the attachments. You will see Ms. Barbara Loveberry at 1093 McClure. That is the parcel immediately east of 1081 McClure. And then if you look at the second page, where you see the first signature, Sharita Burris, she is the parcel that is immediately west of 1081 McClure. So the 2 residents that will be more than anyone affected by the traffic and the business being there, they are aware of the project and they support the project. A lot of this is in context because for 10 years, a child care operated in this property as a family day home. So they are aware and comfortable with traffic of people coming there with their children being there. If you were to look at the photos that was presented in the staff recommendation, if you see the overhead photo, there's a playground that's already there. All that stuff is existing, that's been there for over 10 years, okay? So my proposal for traffic and safety, or to rebut the traffic and safety aspect of it, is that there was a concern with parking being on the front so that it would not disturb the character of the neighborhood. Well, I adjusted the site plan and I've agreed to put parking along the backside of the property. The property is 0.73 acres, 3/4 of an acre large. So I have a lot of space in order to do a lot of things with respect to the development of the property. So if I pull into the driveway and go across the yard to the backyard, I have enough space to put 40 or 50 parking spaces. However, the plan only calls for 10. 2 handicap in the back, and then 4 additional spaces for general users. There's also a space in the front that could be utilized for drop-off and or staff parking or handicap parking in the front. There are several things that are attached to the file as well to show you additional touch points and support for this application. If you look at the third page of the attachments, you should see a letter from Councilwoman Pearl Eva Walker, who was the first person that I contacted before submitting the application to ensure that she would be in support of having a child care center on McClure. So she's gone on the record and provided a letter of support. Again, on page 4, you'll see the revised site plan noting the parking in the rear of the property. In addition to that, that final attachment is a 6-page document that the state of Tennessee Fire Marshal has come out, inspected the property, and has approved the property as it sits for the operation of a child care. Comparable approvals. There are, to note, I found 3 operations of child care in Whitehaven, 38116 zip code, that are more than 200 feet away from the arterial road. Those would be 1127 Marlin Road. It's over 200 feet from the arterial road. 4098 Barton Road is over 300 feet from an arterial road. And 4933 Fairley Road, it's over 2,600 feet from a main arterial road. The assertion that I did not meet the 6 points findings of fact, unusual condition. That's one finding of fact. There is an unusual condition. I'm 743 feet away from a main arterial road. A practical hardship. Strict adherence to the rules. Strict adherence to the rules would render this site unusable as a child care. That's a practical hardship. Not self-created. I didn't put this property here. I didn't develop this subdivision. It was there before I took it on. So that's not of my own creation. Not a public detriment. It is supported by the neighbors and council, and I did provide a plan to mitigate traffic and congestion to address the concerns of OPD. Then we have in harmony with code. The main purpose of this forum is to address those issues that come up that would otherwise prevent further development of real estate. So by the fact that I've gone through the process of doing it the right way, submitting an application, making a presentation, I think that aspect of the UDC, allowing the flexibility and access to the residents in this area for childcare, I think I've met their criteria. And it's not only for profit. Why do I say it's not only for profit? In speaking with the guidance and youth advocacy program with SES, Whitehaven High School on an annual basis has anywhere from 5 to 8 students who are parents in the high school. The guidance counselor told me on several occasions she's had to babysit for students while they go to class. With this location being directly across the street from the school, that would give an additional benefit to the community as well as particularly to the students of Whitehaven High School.
Great, that's our time.
Okay.
So, let's see, are there any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, let me ask one. So you talked about you talked about your hardship. Do you have any hardship that's particular to the property that you'd like to share with us?
Other than it being from the distance from the main arterial road, I met all the setbacks. Everything is already designed, and I've met all that. So there would be no hardships where the setbacks and design of the property is concerned. But the hardship would be that of not being able to meet the criteria because of the distance. And again, we're only, when looking at the project, you're only passing one occupied property, and that person is in support of this project.
I mean, have y'all done, you bought this property.
I did.
It was already being used as a daycare before
It was.
that. Have they done any sort of renovations inside to make it more daycare-like as opposed to home occupation like?
Yes, sir. There's been extensive renovations to the property. I emailed Mr. Smith the photos of it, and again, I apologize for that. But the things that have been done to the property is has a 3-compartment sink. It doesn't require a grease trap or anything like that, but it meets all the code, all the requirements from State Fire Marshal. And then once we get through this process, the health department will come out, and we renovated the property specifically to the standard of the health department, which is, clean, washable walls in the restrooms and kitchen, as well as a mop sink and other things that would be required. 3-compartment sink and hand sink. All those things are present in the property.
I would, just so you know, I think that's more unique than the distance from the road.
Okay.
Just for
yeah. Future release. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't do this all the time either.
Quick question. You said it was a daycare prior.
Yes.
Was it a daycare serving a max number of kids, or was it? So
the rules for the state of Tennessee, a family day home is up to 12 children, unrelated. When I purchased the property, that person was in there, and that person was with me for 3 years. I am also a child care owner. I have a larger center just not far from here. And I felt like this would be a good location to do a smaller concept, to be more intimate, to be able to address a need, again, for the students across the street from Whitehaven High School. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, I just want to know from a staff perspective, if it remained at that capacity, was it a by right use?
So the UDC, if the person lived on the property, would allow up to 7 unrelated children by right.
So 7 is the number.
You could have more if they were related to you, but only 7 unrelated.
And you have to occupy the space as your
Yes, you'd have to live there.
Mr. And it's Harris, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No one's going to be living here.
No.
Correct?
No.
What are your typical hours?
6 a.m. To 5:30, 6 p.m.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to ask if there's any opposition. Okay, very good. Let's see if we can get a motion to approve BOA 2025-278 as conditioned by staff.
So moved.
All right, any thoughts?
I just have one, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Love.
I'd like to ask Secretary, can you talk a little bit about the requirement of the distance from a major arterial road? Can you kind of talk about the thoughts behind that?
Well, I don't know what's in the thoughts of the legislative body when they approved it. I could say my own opinion would probably be that it's related to the traffic volume of a child care center, because you start getting into a high number of children. And so if it's on a minor street that's zoned residential, to keep it within 200 feet of an arterial is essentially to make sure you're not traveling into a neighborhood.
In this case, with it being, as Mr. Harris has explained, very few residences between the intersection and this property, that would be probably minimized.
Yes, from my understanding, there are 2 single-family homes. One is owner-occupied, I assume, or maybe rented, and the other one is a single-family home, but it's actually owned by the church, and I assume their pastor or someone who lives or associated with the church lives there.
Yeah, I kind of see where your thoughts. I mean, like, it seems to me, given where the high school is and the layout of the neighborhood, some of the evils of getting too far into a neighborhood are somewhat mitigated in this instance. So, other thoughts? Yeah.
I agree. Not to mention the church traffic on the weekend. So it's already substantiating the traffic from the high school and the church. So actually, that's traffic that's being imposed on the home as
I will say one thing I like about this list. If you look, it really is the neighbors. you know, a lot of times you end up getting like something that comes in and you have no idea where those people are, and it's just like people that someone just wanted to get to support. But this is like everybody's on McClure and Palmer, which is the street that loops around. So that kind of means a little bit to me.
Yeah, I was gonna agree. I mean, I think ultimately these rules are in place to make sure neighborhoods are operating without issues, traffic, and I agree. If you're getting the approval of the people who are primarily affected, I feel like that does a lot for making sure that you're not doing anything that's going to be problematic or detrimental. So that definitely helps the case. And that is a church, right? Well, I guess that is a church that's enclosed in the gate, right?
It looks like it, yeah. Okay. That's what that looks like where the church is from on map.
Okay. All right, well, that's all.
Okay.
But yes, the church is 2 parcels to the east.
Right. Any other thoughts before we vote? Okay. Mr. Secretary, if you give us a roll call, please.
Do we get a motion?
I believe we did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes. Oh, you said love. I'm sorry. I just said, I'm sorry.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
and Ms. Gerlach,
Yes.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Sullivan.
Yes, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
And Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so you've been approved. Thank you very much. Very well presented, yes. If we could call the next case, please.
Item number 9, BOA 2025-93 at 3101 East Range Road.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Who's the applicant?
Is there any opposition to this case? Okay, seeing none. All right, Mr. Smith, could you give us a staff report, please?
Yes. Travian Smith, DPD Planner. Today we'll be speaking on case BOA 2025-0093. The applicant for this case will be Melvin and Marcy Hoyle, and the location is located at 3101 East Rains Road. The request is for a variance in order to allow a metal carport in the front yard within the 5-foot side yard property line. These items give you more context of location, and as you can see, it is located out in south area of Memphis. And on the right-hand side, as you can see, this is the vicinity map that also shows where the public notices were sent out. And 43 notices were mailed out on September 4th. Here's a zoning map that basically outlines where the property is situated, and then also more context on the layout. And the land use map displays, as you can see, it is within a majority single-family neighborhood. Here is an aerial view of the map of the site. Here are some site photos that give you better representation of how the property looks on the exterior. Here's an elevation photo provided by the applicant and also by the code enforcement. Here's the site plan that was provided by the applicant. And here's more context as it relates to the code. And as you can see, this is more context as it relates to, as it says, subsection 2.7.1. Any accessory structure has to be compatible with the architectural character of the principal structure. And then paragraph 2.7.2A1, no accessory structure shall be located closer than 5 feet to any side or rear property lines. And then lastly, paragraph 2.7.283, no accessory structure shall extend into the required front or side yards. As you can see, the detached carport is not permitted as outlined within the first subsection, 2.7.1. The applicant failed to provide any unusual characteristics of the property, which is required in order to improve the variance. The response provided by the applicant to these criteria is that the unusual characteristics is the lack of having a secondary carport on the property for an additional vehicle, which is not an unusual characteristics all for a character for the neighborhood or for any single-family home in the immediate vicinity of the area. Additionally, the applicant is referring to the fact that they had already purchased the metal carport and it was partially constructed. Then it became a hardship over time as justification to approve the variance. There is no hardship or practical difficulty presented by the applicant that justifies the approving of this variance. In conclusion, staff recommends rejection upon the conditions of final site plan being submitted to the Division of Planning and Development, and then any changes has to be reviewed by the zoning administrator. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Smith or staff?
I have a quick question. Mr. Smith, did you say that Code had cited this or had not cited this property?
Code did cite this property.
Okay. All right, any other questions for staff? All right. So we're going to hear from the applicant. Is Ms. Hoyle, is that Ms. Hoyle?
Marcy.
Oh, come on up. It's your turn. It's your turn.
Good afternoon, board.
You'll give your address for the record. You already know it. Say your name and address for me.
I'm Marcy, and this is Melvin Hoyle. We're at 3101 East Rhine, what Mr. Trevian said.
Okay, now let me swear you in. Now, is Mr. Hoyle going to talk
It's
too?
Mr. Hoyle right here.
Is he going to talk or just you?
We both can talk.
Okay, then go ahead and come up. Let me swear you both in at the same time.
Okay, thank you. Come on.
All right, so y'all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead and share with us.
Okay. Like I say, I want to start by saying this was a hardship. I would like for the board to extend this width of my driveway to accommodate my husband, which is a veteran, which is disabled. And that's why we was accommodating with that. As you can see on the picture, it's a slope hill. The driveway with the weatherization, water flood, ice, and everything up on the hill. So I was accommodating with the hardship and the uncharacteristic of that. It was the slope on the hill. We start from the slope. Everyone else on that street has flat land. 4 houses over there to my side. I start first from the slope on the hill. So it sits on the hill of the slope of a steep with the water flow, with the flood. And I was just trying to accommodate that with his disability to get in and out of the car with that weatherization of the hardship as well. I had a neighbor wrote letters in to support this matter. It wasn't injuries for the neighborhood. They wrote letters to Trevian supporting this carport for that. It wasn't injuries to the neighborhood or no problem. So I just wanted to accommodate, like I stated, for my disabled husband. You would like to speak, Melvin? Want to speak? You like to say something? No.
Okay, he doesn't have to. Yeah. Are there any questions for Ms. Hoyle?
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned two things. You mentioned the slopes being modified to accommodate them. So I guess are you referring to the added concrete that was added to the side?
It's on our property. You see the property line? If we would have put it there down in the ground, it wouldn't have stayed. It would have been falling. So added a little bit of concrete or cement in the bag and kind of spread that out and nailed it on that to support that.
Okay.
Which says it's between 3 to 5 feet. Our property line is right there. The fence was right there. We was unaware not to have it close to property line. We already made it to 4 feet, so we cut that down and off. That was the beginning of the picture. I don't know if Mr. Green had Travian had the last picture of how it really looked. But we cut the fence down from their property line and accommodate that one, and that's the concrete still on our property line.
Now, what about so that explains the concrete. What about the metal covering?
The metal cover, you see, it's on top. That's the beginning when they had when they came out. I guess that was like a day. We put that, it was up there, and I guess code came out the same day. I guess one of the neighbors called or whatever. I don't know. But that's just the layout when they caught it like that. But it do have a cover over it. It's the structure already up. But it's right there. We have a long driveway as well, so we still further away from the driveway to the street. I don't have a picture, but I think Mr. Travian have one. But the driveway is still long. It extends away from the property line, away from the mailbox. You can still see, like I stated, it's not an injury to the community. I did that to accommodate. And we on a dead-end street. We have 4 houses starting from the hill. My house is on a slope hill. This is flat land coming from Range Road to Tuckalahoma. We're on the 4th. We start the slope hill up. 4 downs on the side, and that's a dead-end street where we at it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and then let me ask, there's no opposition here to this case today, correct?
No, sir, that I know of.
Okay, perfect. Thank y'all very much. Y'all can have a
Thank
seat.
you.
If we could get a motion to approve BOA 2025-93 as conditioned by staff.
So moved.
All right, moved and seconded. Any thoughts? Aaron?
Oh, I went down in, first off was, the reason I was asking about the covered patio, because I was trying to find, was there anything that was a hardship with regards to it being a covered patio as opposed to, I guess, using the existing carport. So I started going down the street just to quickly see if I saw any other related structures that remotely did, were like that. I didn't see any off the top of my, just in general, going down that main street, so.
There's a similar one across the street, but it's beside the house.
I saw that one that's kind of set back.
This coming out in front of the house, that's just tough. That's a tough pill to swallow for me.
Particularly once it gets covered.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. I mean, I'm real big on making sure it ties into the architecture of the neighborhood. This will actually block completely the architecture of the neighborhood. And so once again, let me go back to the question. What is by right that you're able to do? If this was attached some kind of way to the house, would that still be an auxiliary structure? If this tied into the existing roof line for whatever reason? I'm just trying to make sure how the separate.
No.
Okay.
Because the UDC wouldn't allow the carport to extend in front of the house, even if it was attached.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like nothing.
There's normally like something you can like.
Right, yeah. I mean, like the most unique thing we have here is the person that lives in the property, not the property itself. So while it's a sad story, or, my heart goes out to like figuring out a way to like somebody get in and out of their car, not get in the rain. I don't know where the UDC lets me do much about that. And that's my issue. Any other thoughts? All right, Mr. Secretary, if you'll give us a roll call, please.
Ms. Conrad.
No.
Mr. Campbell.
No.
Ms. Scurlock.
No.
Mr. Bruce.
No.
Mr. Love.
No.
Vice Chair Savage Selden.
No, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 will not be met, and this property will be unduly detrimental to the other properties in the vicinity.
And Chair Rainey.
No.
Motion fails.
All right, we're sorry. We just can't, I don't think the UDC lets us approve what you're doing with what we can do. So, Mr. Secretary, we call our next, I think our last case.
Yes, sir. Item number 13, BOA 2025-22 at 712 North Manassas Street.
Okay. So I know we have the applicant, and I'm assuming some opposition because there's a lot of people still here. So what we're going to do, this is one we've heard before. We agreed to a rehearing on it. If we could get, looks like it's your day, Mr. Smith. If you'll give us a kind of an update or just remind us what we talked about before, and then we'll go and talk to the applicant in opposition.
Yes. So basically, just for a recap, this is a rehearing for a use variance in order to allow a grocery store / deli, and a variance in order to allow a 0.4-foot setback encroachment. I'm just going to skip through the slides here. Well, just to let you know, notices were recent, so a total of twice, and then to the applicants, to the people who also spoke against during the last session. Here's some interior site photos of the deli. So just to give you a recap, the variance was rejected by the Board of Adjustments on July 23rd. A petition for rehearing was filed on August 15th by the applicant, and then the Board of Adjustments approved that petition on August 27th. And just for a further recap, this is a convenience store that's been operating since late 2019. The store closed down due to an electrical fire, and then they opened up. And while they were applying for a certificate of occupancy, they realized they had to apply for a use variance in order to operate the deli. And so they applied for that, and construction enforcement issued certain permits during that fire, at the time of the fire and everything. The surrounding area of the deli is consistent of like vacant lots, single-family lots, and institutional uses. Just for further context, the ownership of the two properties during the last session, people spoke about another deli, whereas this deli is separate from the other, and that there are two separate properties. These are two separate properties. And basically, I'll read this aloud. Intended to address concerns raised in letters received related to safety, litter, and nuisance. The New York Grocery and Deli proposed operating hours from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m., and the applicant has willingly agreed to reduce their operating hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. to reduce the risks of conflicts associated with the late night activity. However, we suggest reducing the hours from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The variance is also conditioned to expire and become null and void on July 23rd, 2027, with the reasoning being that the other conditions are being upheld, and that is not an operating manner that would be a public detriment by providing a check-in to the Board of Adjustments. Now, they may file a time extension by modifying that condition in response to the concerns being raised by the letters that were received. The New York Grocery and Deli, again, is owned independently from the Twins Food Market that is located down the street on 766 Jackson Avenue. However, both operations do use the same tax preparer who has been assisting the applicant in their application and filing the Board of Adjustments. And during the last session, they did not have an interpreter, and so that is why they filed the petition for rehearing, and that's what leads us back here today. Lastly, us DPD staff has visited the site, and we didn't notice any loitering or any vagrancy on the lot, although we did discover vagrancy across the street at the church. And here was our original recommendation. Staff recommended approval of conditions, and as mentioned, we conditioned to limit the hours from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Any trash collections on the lot has to be cleaned up. And the trash has to be screened by a wall or a fence in place. The pole that was remaining on the lot has to be removed. The property shall be maintained free of trash and litter. The property shall be clearly post a sign that says no loitering or soliciting. The establishment is prohibited from selling alcoholic beverages. And then again, the variance will become null and void on July 23rd, 2027. Any changes to the site plan has to be determined by the zoning administrator. That concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any questions right now for Mr. Smith?
Couple questions. Mr. Smith, what, if anything, by right do they have beside the convenience store at this location?
Essentially a single-family house.
I was thinking last time we talked about them able to do some office or something like that there. Is that not accurate? And I could be misremembering.
It may have been like a church. It's zoned moderate density residential.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Bray, are you going to you want to come up and talk to us? And I can swear everybody in at once. So yeah, go ahead and give your name and address, and we can get his too.
David Bray, 2950 States Plaza North, Bartlett 3134.
Okay.
Baran Naji, living 942 North Parkins Road, Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and speak with us.
So, and I'm going to reserve most of my time for rebuttal. At the first hearing on this, I was not here with the client. This was not a case that I was working on. So I have listened to the board from hearing from last time, but I would like to hear the opposition and see exactly what it is that they have to say. I would like to point out what Mr. Smith pointed out. This gentleman does not own the other market that's in question here, the one on Jackson, Twin Market. Is only this store that we're talking about is the only one that we're discussing. Okay? And I'd like to reserve my time for rebuttal.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bray. All right, so we're going to move on to the opposition. Or did you want to?
Okay. No, it's okay.
Okay. All right, we'll move to the opposition. And so if y'all will give your, I can call people out if we get bored, but if you want to come and give your name and address, I'll pull your card and get you sworn in.
Absolutely. Jordan McKenzie, 850 North Manassas Street.
All right, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Mr. McKenzie?
Absolutely, I do.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, board. So here we are again. 2 months later, nothing has changed. There has been no collaboration, no cooperation, but there has been intimidation because the CRA has, in essence, to try to alleviate some things, put in a fence around our property. And in the midst of putting in our fence, someone, not necessarily speculating the owner himself, but someone from the ownership of New York Deli has tried to intimidate the fence installers so that we could mitigate the trash. Speaking of which, We have also been receiving dumped trash on our property since we put in the fence. That was blatantly from the New York Daily, and I will provide those pictures as well. I'm not going to spend much time. I just would like to say, consider the community. Again, you're about to hear a barrage of voices, community leaders, residents, as well as people that are stakeholders within the area that are all saying the same thing. It is not incumbent upon this board to enable illicit activity that happens here. It just so happened the fact is that MPD reportedly gave us a rundown of the crime report, 19 calls, 7 incidents, 3 arrests, to the point which one happened as of 4:02 a.m. yesterday. A gentleman was shot leaving New York Deli at 4:02. Now, if they had intentions of abiding by your recommendations, which should have been closed the shop at 12 midnight, how in the world does someone get shot at 4 o'clock in the morning? I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. McKenzie? Okay, come on up.
Matthew Best, 1287 Tutwiler Avenue, 38107.
All right, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Matthew Best. I am the executive director of New Ballet Ensemble and School, and this neighborhood is of particular interest to us in that we have done dance programming at what was Humes Middle School back when it was part of Fraser Community Schools as well. We also are a part of an effort to acquire Humes Middle School in hopes of turning it into a performing arts middle and high school. That's actually going to go before the school board on next Tuesday. Our interest in the property is in our work there and our time visiting there and spending time around the property. We have seen lots of illicit activity happening in the area, and we have a vested interest in making sure this area is cleaned up and is representative of what the community needs around it. You're also going to hear from other folks that have been in the neighborhood far longer than me and far longer than us that have continued to see issues. I even talked to some police officers when I was there a couple months ago, responding to, we were interested. We saw some things happening at the property, and when I got there, the police officers told me, oh yeah, we really can't do much as long as those folks are there. This is going to keep being a problem. And that was conversations I had with several officers about the constant efforts that they have to put in order to try to keep things off the street. But even just driving through the neighborhood, I only live about a mile and a half from there. It's impossible to go by and not see what I would just call seedy or somewhat suspicious looking activity happening on that end of the street as well as the other end of the street. And our sole concern is that in hopes of trying to turn around a neighborhood and really reinvest in the neighborhood and add some value to the neighborhood, we really, really would love to see folks in the area that are not contributing, whether on purpose or not, to things that are deteriorating the neighborhood. So that's our biggest concern. That's my concern as well, as a resident and neighbor, and as somebody that's really interested in young people in that area.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Best? All right. Good afternoon, ma'am. If you'll give your name and address for us.
Yes, Stephanie Walker, 619 Keel Avenue, Memphis, 38107.
Okay, Ms. Walker, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Walker.
I have property about a block on Manassas from this store. I remember Mr. Bray said that this was not owned by the same owners at the twin store that's at Jackson and Manassas. What we have is the old Hume School, and on the south side is a twin store at the end, and this store is one block down on the north side. Now, I know he said that this gentleman did not own both, but I believe it's still a family business for this gentleman. But the most is the plan that the planner had given about closing at reasonable hours that they continue to refuse to do. It's just a threat to our neighborhood to have people trafficking back and forth to this store in the middle of the night. And I hope that this board can take that into consideration. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Name and address for me.
Coley Cooper, 1380 Allentown Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38103.
Okay, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cooper.
All right, I am a community pastor there in North Memphis. We serve the community there throughout the year, throughout the months. So I just find it ironic for this, the owner of this same store, or with it not being a connection, but the same activity that happens at the Twins happens here in New York Deli. And when I say activity, it's in the report, drugs, prostitution, lottering, hanging out. It's an iStore. I've been in the neighborhood for about 10 years now. And we've done a lot of work with organizations, whether it's Habitat for Humanity, whether it's CRA, where we're trying to really clean up the neighborhood. And I just feel like they've been given the opportunity to make some things happen, to be a part of the new development that's happening. And it just they hadn't come through on their end. And so, I'm just in support of what we're trying to do as a community in North Memphis, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Cooper? All right.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, name and address for the
I'm
record.
Deborah Northcross, 1832 South Parkway East, Memphis, 38114.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Northcross.
I am a product of North Memphis. Spent many wonderful years at 982 Leith Street. Very loving community. Have wonderful memories. And Leith Street was one block east of Manassas. And I know things are not the same as they were when I was a child, but I think kids still need to have the same feeling of safety, of love, as they did when I was a child. And I think you can help. You can shut it down. You can shut down what's happening now around Humes High School. I happen to be the chair of New Ballet Ensemble in school, and we have great visions of what can happen now as it is reimagined, renovated, and bring back a very good vision of what that community can become. I think, again, that we need your help to bring back the once thriving community of working class citizens that it used to be. You can help with that, and we need your help. You can shut it. What is happening now, you can shut it down. We implore you to do that. We need our kids to be safe and not victims of the crime that's going on now around Humes High. Help us do that. Thank you.
Are there any questions from Ms. Northcross? All right. How are we looking on time? Okay. Yeah, so we still have time for more. Go ahead, sir. Name
Good
and address.
afternoon. Ted Poplis, Habitat for Humanity, 7136 Winchester, 38125.
All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Habitat for Humanity has been working in North Memphis and Uptown for many years now, and we built probably close to 125 single-family homes. Our home buyers are families, single mothers, mostly with children, and it's been my unfortunate experience that these type of markets tend to attract an undesirable element in crime. It would sadden me greatly to think that a mother driving her children to school might have to explain to her minor children what kind of activity is happening in this parking lot. For that reason alone, I would ask that this be denied. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Poplis? All right. Come on up. You'll give your name and address for the
Good
record.
afternoon. I'm Henry Turley. My address is 571 Magnolia Mound, 38103.
Okay. And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Turley.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I just got a note from Michelle read this into the record. Is that appropriate? Sorry I can't make the meeting, but here's what I'd like to share. The Memphis-Shelby County School Board will be voting next Tuesday on the sale of the building, that's Humes High, for it to become an elite arts education school. I plan to vote in support of that. A convenience store that has been a magnet for crime is not conducive to learning. Please keep that business closed. Michelle McKissick, Board Member, District 1. I'm here as the master developer of Uptown. In 1999, I was just finishing Harbortown, and so I was looking for work. And I had a couple of criteria. I wanted my next assignment, like Harbortown, to be something that would make a better city. And I wanted to be something that no one else was likely to do. So we set out to make, so how did I find it? I looked right across the river, and there was North Memphis, and it was 1999, really in deplorable condition. And so we set out to make it a nice place to live. We had another criteria, that being that we would not gentrify the neighborhood. There was fear that we would, but we sort of made our reputation there by going into older people's homes with Habitat, thank you, and redoing their homes, so they knew we weren't going to ask them to leave after we just spent the money on their place. Over the years, we have built hundreds of apartments and hundreds of homes, and we've rehabilitated quite a few. I'm not sure how many there. But I don't think anything we have done is quite as important as getting this school, they're calling it MIM Arts. And they're starting soliciting children from the neighborhood, and then they'll go afar, since it's such a special place. They'll go about the city, offering children who are inclined to learn best in an artistic environment to come here. So I don't think anything we've done is important as this taking Humes, which is empty, and being vandalized and making it into a very special school that will be known around the country. And as MIM Arts is a very special place in Memphis.
Here, I'm gonna need to stop you because we're out of time.
Okay.
But I appreciate you coming down.
Can I tell one little story?
Yeah, one little story.
Monday Shea was right here, and we're going to a neighborhood meeting to tell about the school. And a prostitute with very few clothes on walked, aggressively down Manassas, having emerged from 712. And that is not an uncommon sight. When we go to New York, Delhi, it's likely to be prostitution. They say there's drugs. I don't know enough about drugs to say, but, you know, when a woman flags me down, I know, you know, she doesn't want to ride to church. And that's, I just can't imagine a fifth grader looking out the window and seeing that, and it's commonplace, and it happens. I'm not saying these people are in that business, but they attract that, and the zoning is residential, and we'll make a deal with Habitat to build a house there, should y'all allow us to do that. Thank you. I'm sorry to go over.
Thank you, Mr. Turley. At this point, we're going to move back to the applicant. And so how much time do we reserve?
Yes, 11.
You have 11 minutes. I'm going to add a minute and a half to that if you need it. So that's 12 and a half minutes.
Okay.
To be fair.
Okay. Thank you. And as we pointed out before, and I've reiterated here with Mr. Arabi while it was going on, we don't have any connection to the market on Jackson. It's not a cousin. It's not a family business. They're both from Yemen, but that's as far as the connection goes. So we're not connected with that store. Comment by Mr. McKenzie. We have reached out. We've tried to contact CRA several times over the last month to have a discussion about this. They have gone out and built a fence around their property. I think the staff report shows a survey. You can see where the property line is. Mr. Robbie was not really aware of how narrow his property was. That's going to result in a need to move the dumpster and add a new drive aisle so that they can get service to that dumpster from the other side of the building. But they'll be taking care of that. Prior to that fence going up and in the earlier times of operation, Mr. Robbie routinely cut the grass on the CRA lots, trying to keep it clean. If you read the staff report, if you look at the pictures from inside the building, if you look at where the security cameras are, the description that is being given of this business by the neighbors does not match what staff found, what the pictures show, and what's in evidence out there. This is a store. It's the only store owned by Mr. Harabi and his wife. They don't have any other stores. It's a family business. They operated prior to the electrical fire. Had they never had the electrical fire, they'd still be operating today and not back here because they were permitted. And we're just asking you guys to grant them the variance so that they can go back to operating. You go through, and we've heard reports of prostitution and drugs and everything else. And in your staff report, and my staff report, let me see if I can find the page where it lists the crimes. There's a list that lists 23 crimes. There's no prostitution listed. There's no drug sales listed. And then when you dig in further to the police reports, and we've got one that's page 37 of your staff report, and it's an incident that occurred outside the store. It wasn't inside the store. It didn't have anything to do with the store. The only reason that the store is even mentioned in here, beyond the address where it was called to, is that the store had cameras, and they said if you return during the daytime, the day manager will give you footage of anything that occurred. You go to the one that was on page 40, and it's a robbery that took place at the church across the street. But the call came in at this address. The gentleman came out of this store and then was robbed on the church property across the street. And it goes on and on. There's a lot of things that were attempted to be associated with this property that aren't with this property. Mr. Robbie, operated a neighborhood store. He's willing to work with the conditions that the staff has recommended here to get back open. We'll change the dumpster, and we'd just like the chance to go back and operate. And the staff conditions, condition number 8, says the variance shall expire in 2 years. So we have to come back in 2 years. So if everything he says is not true, then we'll be back here, and you guys would have plenty of reason not to extend the variance beyond that point. The only thing that we would ask on that is if you would consider changing the expiration date from July 23rd, which is when this was originally heard, and that's what it was set up to be, 2 years, if you change it to September 24th, 2027. And on condition 1, if you would consider going back to the 10 p.m., and that's just to allow them a few more hours of operating time per day. And it's also operating time while there's still activity on the streets, and he's worried about crime when the business is shut down. But we're happy to answer any questions you have. Mr. Arabi is here. I'm not a translator, but hopefully we can get through any questions that you have. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we can get a motion to approve BOA 2025-22 as conditioned by staff.
Can I make a point of correction? I think it's listed in the staff report as 722, or is it 712?
712.
Okay.
712. So do we have a motion to approve as conditioned by staff?
Second.
All right, any thoughts? You know, something that I've heard a lot in the past 3 days is, what is it? Correlation does not equal causation. But I don't know how that applies here. I mean, I don't think that I don't know that the gentleman that's operating the store is doing anything to make these things happen. But the things that happen around these stores, which is why we don't have them in residential neighborhoods. So I don't think that he's necessarily causing it, other than the fact that there's a store in the residential zone. Yeah, and so it's like I feel really bad that he's got this store there, but like our zoning doesn't want stores there anymore. And it definitely seems, I can't guarantee, I mean, like I'd have to lean toward being more injurious to the neighborhood than, say, the daycare center across the street from the high school.
It's the nature of stores like this.
He's just selling product.
He's just selling product, and
no
people
alcohol, but it's still just people just show up and hang out.
So the question that comes up then is, with the conditions that are being recommended, does that alleviate? Is there a potential for that to alleviate it, or would it just be things as normal? Getting rid of alcohol, changing the hours, are those things that would?
Signs. And no solicitation.
Can those make a real difference? And are we willing to wait 2 years to find out is a big thing?
I'm just gonna say, I don't think so, because again, we're looking at, if it happens in the evening time and this gets dark at 4:30, they're still open 4 more hours. Even though they don't sell alcohol, but if I get it down the street and then this still is an open place or, activity goes on here, are familiar with it, I'm still gonna come back here. I think it's just the fact of the nature of the business, convenience stores, for whatever reason, draw robbery.
Every 12-year-old boy in the country loves a convenience store. I mean, like, there's just something that's, you can go in there and get stuff, and so it just, people congregate towards them in an area where I don't think we want people congregating.
So here's an additional question. So, devil's advocate, we vote that this is no longer a convenience store. What is it? Now what does it become? It becomes an abandoned spot where whatever activity is still going on is gonna happen. I'm just thinking of it
Yeah,
from both sides of the
we
street.
can't stop the activity from happening.
Yeah, only
But
thing
we're
we're gonna,
not, there's no worm on the end of the line anymore to get people over there. Like, but yeah, you're right, now it's an empty parking lot.
it's an empty
People just
parking lot where people can now do whatever they're gonna do without any oversight.
Yes, with the community, oh, I'm sorry, but as part of the community, you have Habitat, and as you go down Google Maps and you drive down, it is a residential community. Everything on the street, even though with the double yellow line, it's more traffic, but it is residential. And in residential communities all over Memphis, there's a quieting that happens at certain hours. And part of the zoning allows for that quieting to be in this neighborhood.
Yeah, and, oh, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Yeah, and so I would say part of the injurious to the neighborhood is that it's not allowed to have the quieting that other neighborhoods in Memphis have.
And I totally agree. I'm just thinking of, oftentimes, I'm, again, devil's advocate. We get rid of a nuisance, but we don't get rid of the facility that's causing the nuisance. So if this is no longer operating as a business, my biggest question is, now when it's no longer, it's abandoned now, it's just a building, what does that contribute and what does that, is the owner willing to say, I'll sell this property to someone to redevelop it? Does it just become a place now where criminal activity happens still around it? That's my only question, but I definitely agree with.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. However, I do think it's important for us to take note of the number of neighbors that have shown up and said, hey, whatever's going on this property, we are there with it every day and every night, and we don't like it. There are a lot of people here today. There were a lot more people here last time. There's just a general consensus there. And by if we don't approve it, yeah, there's the risk that nothing will happen with the property, but at least we give it a chance for somebody to come in and do something with it that conforms to the neighborhood.
And there is another convenience store up the street. It's not like, the other one that's not owned by this gentleman. There's still another one up the street.
So to that point of the other convenience store, what differs with these usages and rights?
Offhand, I'm not aware what the other one is zoned.
Okay.
But my general understanding is they are both convenience stores, neither have gas sales, and I think the other one sells alcohol.
But it is on Jackson.
Okay, so
a bigger
location, yeah.
It's a bigger corner, so it may be zoned different than this one. It's just straight, some sort of residential, they said. Yeah. Any other comments before we vote? All right. If you can give us a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Love?
No.
Ms. Gerlach? Ms. Conrad?
No.
Mr. Campbell?
No.
Mr. Bruce?
No.
Vice Chair Savage Selden?